Hi, this is Faith, and you are watching The Faith Factor. Holla. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming in. And this is The Faith Factor, and I am your humble host, Faith. And this morning, I just want to come in here and have the conversation because this is a very, very important topic, and it is my desire to bring awareness to the topic into the community because I have, started to look at this thing and look at the conversations that people are having about this topic all throughout YouTube. And I'm seeing that, many of us have a lot of different ideologies about child predators, how to protect children, and who are the perpetrators of not protecting the children. So I want to come at this topic from a different point of view. I want to come at this topic not at a finger pointing point of view that alienates people, because that's what it does. I know that Rue Demp has been doing a lot of talking on this topic on his channel, and I believe he's coming from a good place. But what he's doing is he's pretty much alienating women, particularly single mothers, because he's doing a lot of angry finger pointing and using language that kind of turns people off. And when you do that, what happens is people are no longer listening to your message. They're getting turned off and they're becoming defensive. So what I want to do here is I want to actually educate without making people feel alienated, because I don't think that alienating people and causing them to feel as if they've done something wrong as a group, when a lot of Black women have done nothing wrong, have done nothing to cause a predator to come into the environment and do anything to their children. So, I just want to come at this from a point of view of just educating and not finger pointing and alienating any one group. Okay. I don't think that is the effective way of getting the message out. Good morning to all my early birds in here. I think I saw the first person that came in here was Cassandra Brown. Congratulations. You are the very first person to comment in the comment section. And right after you, Just Being Jazzy, podcast clips and crafty ideas. So welcome my two early birds into the chat, the first two to comment today. So, I was over at Sweet Life of Atari's channel yesterday, and she had a very great program. It lasted about 4 hours. I had no idea it was going to be that long, but, a great conversation came out of it. And actually, I learned something sitting on that panel from the women on that panel. Now, a lot of times when a person tells you that you're wrong about something or they correct you, we have a knee-jerk reaction to want to feel as if that person is trying to get the one up on us, right? But, instead of taking things personally, I went into introspection about the entire thing. Miss Olivia and I was on that panel yesterday, and I was saying that I have a conservative viewpoint, and I do. A lot of my views are very traditional. And even though my timeline isn't, but that's a whole other story. Excuse me. I believe that parents should take a very proactive approach with protecting their children. So I would say, to a lot of women, hey, you don't want to dress your children inappropriately. I believe in dressing my children age appropriate. I don't believe in allowing my teenagers to run around with their hip bone showing, or belly button area showing, too much cleavage, too much thigh area. But that's just me. I'm very traditional and conservative in how I view the way that children should dress. I am excuse me, hold on a second. I'm sorry. My second oldest daughter lives with me, and sometimes she doesn't respect when I'm on. I'm trying to do my broadcast, so I have to remind from time to time to be quiet. But anyway, where was I? I lost my train of thought. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I had to close some doors because people they don't respect you when you're on camera. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, so I have great respect for the knowledge of other people. So when I introduced how I feel, as far as my conservative values, Miss Olivia, I don't know if she said that she was in the military before, that she was a sexual assault investigator in the military, but she corrected me. She said, "No, Faith. Um, the way people dress their parents have not the way parents dress their children have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not they're targeted. Any child can be a target." And I got quiet. See, a lot of times, when people just want to be right, they'll sit back and they'll argue back and forth about, just wanting to be right. I'm not that type of person. So when Miss Olivia said what she said, I listened to her because she has expertise and training in the field. And so what I began to do was I went and I started doing research, because when I don't just take anybody's word for it either, whether you're an expert or not. I'm going to go and do my own research, and I'm going to, try to see if what the person is saying is legit. So she's legit. A lot of the studies that I pulled up, do say that it's not about what how a child is dressed or anything like that. Any child can be a target of a predator. Any child. Okay. But I also wasn't wrong either, because a lot of studies do say that predators do target children who have parents who are just inattentive. So the dressing of the children isn't the issue, but it's the inattentiveness of the parent that is the issue. And so that's what brings me here today to talk about how we can prevent our children from being targets of child predators. So it's not what they're wearing, but it is you being the first line of defense. And so you see in the title that I put that a lot of child predators are very likable people. And Miss Olivia, the Oracle, I listen to everything that people say and I remember them. She said that children can be around adults who have access to children, and access being the number one thing is access. So if the predator can get access to your child by becoming a teacher, a youth counselor, or getting into some type of volunteer organization that involves young children and teens, then they are going to have access to a lot of children. So access being the number one thing. Another thing that predators do to gain access, and this is new with the trend of there being more and more women who are single mothers. A lot of things, another thing that a predator will do to gain access to your children, and I think this is something that Rude was trying to touch upon, but the way that he's going about doing it, he's alienating women by lumping all women in one category and being accusatory in his speech and tone. So I'm not going to do the same thing that Rude is doing. I'm going to try to educate you based on the facts and the information that I observed and that I looked up. But predators will go online and they target single mothers because single mothers tend to be less attentive because we are not in the home a lot. A lot of times single mothers are forced out of the home because we have to go to work and we have other obligations outside of the home. So single mothers are huge targets for predators. So I have an article, a PDF article from April 2009 that speaks to this. And basically it says single mothers are a target for sexual predators. It says here, in today's society, sexual predators are finding more and more ways to find access to innocent victims. And recently it has become apparent that one tactic being used more by sexual predators is gaining access to children through their single mother. Many sexual predators, pedophiles, go onto online dating services just to look for profiles of single women with children. And this is disturbing in a sense that most of the time these women are so thrilled to be in a relationship that they overlook any red flags or warning signs in regards to their new significant other. Most dating sites do not run background checks, screenings on their members, so it's hard to even know who these people really are. There are some tips on dating as a single mother that women can follow that will not only protect them, but will protect their children as well. So now that we know that most of these dating sites don't run background screenings on the people that sign up at these dating sites, one of the first things that you might want to do if you're a single mother and you're out here dating is that you might want to run a background check on the people that you meet on these online sites. So that will require gaining as much information about the person as possible, getting to know the person, getting to know their first and last name, getting to know what type of employment they do, getting to know all different types of information, and then going into an online database, running that person's name and, checking them out, and it's not just for your safety, but it's for the safety of your children. It is imperative and important that you know the person that you're dating doesn't have a criminal background. So this is one thing that you can do as a line of defense. Okay, because there are child predators out here that will click on your profile specifically because you have on your profile that you have children. Also, refrain from putting pictures of your children on your dating profile. I know that as single mothers, we are very proud of our children. We want to show them off, but on a dating profile, it's all about you. It's okay for you to say that you have children on your dating profile, but don't put pictures of your children on your dating profile. Do not disclose their ages on your dating profile. Do not disclose the sex of your children on your dating profile. Let that information come out in the natural dating process of you getting to know the person. Don't make it public information on your dating profile. Hell, to be honest with you, I don't think I would even. I know that you want to be forthcoming with information on your dating profile before the person even dates you, but I would not even put that I have children because of the current climate that we're in and people prey on single mothers. I would leave that blank. You could just refuse to divulge that information on the dating profile. And then in the getting to know you process, if the person says that they don't want children, then oh well. Accept the fact that the person doesn't want to date someone with children and move on. Just know that you do not want to date them either. Want those that want you. I think that doing it this way will eliminate people from targeting you just simply because they see that you have children on your dating profile. And then that way you can have more of a hands-on method of how can I say, of vetting the person. You have more of a hands-on method of vetting the person face to face, so that you kind of get a feel for, is this person here for you or are they here for other things? And vetting is extremely important. I know that there was some backlash with Tanya TKO over there at Cynthia G's channel when she merely suggested vetting men. And it kind of blew up over there when she said that, hey, if you guys don't like these men and you don't want to have their babies, then don't have their babies and make sure that you vet. And it was a big blow up over that. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with vetting, and to be honest with you, vetting is necessary, especially if you are a single mother. Vetting is absolutely necessary. Good morning, everybody. I see more people have began to file in. Let me see if I see my usual suspects in here. I see that BMT has arrived. What's up? He says, just stopping through. I see that Miss China White. Hey, I love me some China White. Mahogany Roots. What's up, girlfriend? Let's see who else. A bit tired. Big tired. What's going on? I like to pronounce people's names correctly, so let me know if I'm being incorrect. I don't mind correction. Aries Queen. What's up, Aries Queen? Feisty Goddess. Good morning. Good morning. And Haley Boops. Like Betty Boop. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, Miss Mama Rain. All right. So I think I said hello to everybody that I see in the comment section. So let me go ahead and continue on, because the article gives a lot of good information. And I just want, it's a very, very brief article as well. So it says here, accept the fact that some guys will not want to date you because you have children. And in that case, just know that you don't want to date them either. Okay. So if you meet the guy and you open up to him and you mention the fact that you have children, he's turned off, hey, accept it. Okay. Take the rejection in stride. Men have to deal with rejection all the time, because 9 times out of 10 is men that have to approach women. So imagine how many times they get rejected, and we expect them to take the rejection and move on with their lives. We don't expect them to throw a fit. Why you don't want me? How, I want you to want me. How weird is that? So if we expect men to take rejection in stride, then ladies, accept the fact that some guys will not want to date you because you have children. Take the rejection in stride. It's going to look weird for you to sit up here and be like, how come you don't want me? So what if I got kids? That is his right. Okay. Accept it and move on. He don't want you. You don't want him. You don't want nobody that don't want you. Never date a guy who makes it clear to you that he does not want children. Just let him find a woman who does not want children either. It is more common in these cases where the children fall victim to physical, mental, and sexual abuse due to the non-parent's resentment. Remember the old saying, there are plenty of other fish in the sea. So if you try to force yourself upon someone who has expressed that they don't want children or that they don't like children, do you really think that this would be a safe person to have around your children if they don't like them and they don't want them? Absolutely not. That is not a good choice. And shame on you for trying to force or impose your will on others. Also, don't apologize for being fertile. I'm reading directly from the article. Realize that being a mom, single or not, is the best thing in the world. There are some women who aren't lucky enough to have children of their own. Children are a gift. So as single mothers, always look at your children as being valuable, as being precious, and you want to protect them at all costs. When you do start dating someone, take things slowly. Make sure you get to know the person before you bring him into your home life. And that should go without saying, but as single women, especially as single mothers, we get so excited, when we think that somebody is into us. Excuse me. We get so excited when we think someone's into us. We just think, oh my God, I got a man, and having a man becomes the most important thing. It becomes something that you are just obsessed by, that you identify yourself with. And it's something that has to stop within our mentality as women. Okay. You are good enough by yourself. Be happy with yourself. Be happy with your children first. And anyone that comes into your life, they're just someone who comes into your life that adds extra to the wonderful person that you and your children, the wonderful people that you and your children already are. They're there to add extra joy and happiness into your situation. And if they're not there adding extra joy and happiness, then they're hindering your situation. Take a long time to introduce your children to your new flame. Some people, won't introduce their children to the person they're dating until they have decided that they are both going to be in a committed relationship. And to be honest with you, you would want to do this. You want to wait past the infatuation stage. With children in the home, I would be vetting a person for a year. 1 year was my goal. And usually that resulted in me not introducing anybody to my kids because nobody was ever good enough or measured up. And that's okay. If they don't measure up, they just don't measure up. If they don't meet the standards, if they don't respect your boundaries, then they're not going to respect your children's boundaries. Let me say that again. If they don't meet your standards and if they're not respecting your boundaries, what makes you think that they are going to respect your children's boundaries? And this is a great rule of thumb to go by. Anything under a year is too soon to be introducing a new person to your children. Oh wow, I don't even know how long I haven't had sound. Let's see. I started losing sound around 10:30, so I lost sound around 10:30. Sorry, guys. You know I got the struggle StreamYard over here, so I'll go back again to where I left off in the article. Okay, because I lost sound about a minute ago. So basically, it says when you start dating someone, take things slowly. Make sure you get to know the person before you bring them into your home life. Take a long time to introduce your children to your new flame. Talk to your kids about him and ask if they like him. Always listen to your kids. Always listen to what your kids have to say. Okay. Listening being the operative word. Listen, listen, listen. Now, as much as I hate how Mr. Rudemp is going about doing what he's doing, he played some interesting clips last night on his stream where there was an example of a daughter who's a teen going to her mother and saying, "Hey, mom, I need to talk to you." And she goes on to tell her mother that her boyfriend went into her room while she was sleeping at night and touched her. Oh, hold on a second. I still don't have audio. Am I still don't have sound? Okay, Sincerely. Okay, you heard me. Okay. So that was very disturbing to me. And while that does happen, I just want you to know that it doesn't just happen to the Black community, that happens to all community of women who are single mothers and they're dating. What there you have some white women that are so male identified that they don't believe their daughters. You have white women that will actually give their daughters to the predator. That's how desperate they are to keep men. So I don't want you to think this is just a Black community thing. This happens in all communities. And it's not all women. It's just women with low self-esteem who pretty much latch their identity on to having a man. These are women that latch their importance on to having a man. These are women that put men as a priority over their children. Those are the type of women that are vulnerable to this sort of thing happening. Not every woman is that vulnerable. And I want to remove that from the context of the conversation. See, what Rude is making it seem like he's calling women out their names, first of all. He's referring, you bitches, y'all doing this, y'all doing that. You women, you old hags, that's not a way for you to convey a message about a subject of this magnitude. You do not alienate the audience that you are trying to convey the message to. So in trying to do things in proper form and fashion, and in the interest of just putting the information out there, I'm not going to talk to you guys as if you are all predators. Just not going to do it. Hello, Topaz. Topaz is another person who's in the mental health field and probably deals with this subject ad nauseum as well. Jim Jewell says, I hate people letting dates around their kids too soon. Yeah. My rule of thumb when I was dating was I always waited 1 year to see if this person met a particular set of standards. Now, here's the thing. It's not good enough to put a time frame behind when you're going to introduce somebody to your kids. The time frame means nothing if you don't do the work. Let me say this again. The time frame in which you wait to introduce the person to your children means nothing if you don't put in the vetting. If you wait 1 year and you haven't vetted this person, meaning that you didn't do a background check, meaning that you don't know the person's full first and last name. Like, we don't go by nicknames around my neck of the woods. We got to know your first and your last name. We got to know where you live. We got to know what type of work you do. We got to know where you work. We some nosy hoes, some nosy bitches. Be nosy. Be extremely nosy, especially if you're a single mother. You got to put all the work in, and then you need to sit back and observe this person. Observe them. When you go out to restaurants, observe where his eye wanders. I remember I was at a bowling alley on a date with a guy. And there were some teenage girls nearby who were also bowling. They looked like they were about 15, 16, 17, 18. Younger than both of us, who are in our middle age. So as I'm bowling with him, I'm noticing that he can't seem to keep his eyes off those teenagers. And in observing that about him, I immediately ended the date, and I also ended the relationship. I ended, dating and everything else. See, that is what I call putting in the work. Because if he's looking at those teenage girls, while you're out and about with him, and if you have daughters about that age at home, he's going to do the same thing if you bring him home. So don't think that he likes you so much that he will make you and yours an exception. And if he has wandering eyes like that, he's going to be a problem in general. See, you have to, when you're dating, be willing to cut a nigga off immediately when you start seeing these types of warning signs. But, also keep in mind that that's not the only warning sign. That's not the only warning sign. Another thing is never, ever, ever leave your children alone with your boyfriend. I don't believe in allowing a boyfriend to babysit children. Even though he might be the love of your life and you think that you're going to end up together, those are not his kids. And beware of a guy, gifts are very nice and everything like that. But if he is singling out one child in particular in your home with special gifts, and he's treating that one child special all the time, and he's kind of, leaving out the other children, that's a warning sign too, that he might be grooming that particular child. Because predators love to isolate, and they like to make the child feel like they're special, more special than everybody else. So as a single mother, you have to be very, very careful about your man wanting to take your 13-year-old, your 14-year-old, your 15-year-old to the mall. Oh, LaQuisha needs summer clothes. Oh, I'll take her. Daddy won't buy them. Oh, baby, don't worry about it. I'll take LaQuisha to the mall for you, and I will buy her summer clothes. I wouldn't be trusting of that. No, I don't see why you got to take LaQuisha to the mall. Give me the money and I'll take LaQuisha to the mall. Or better yet, you can get your ass up out of here right now. Because the mere fact that you want to take LaQuisha to the mall without me don't sit right with me at all. You got to be willing to cut people off. And I know that seems like a very small thing to cut somebody off for, but as the article says, you have to trust your instinct. Okay? Don't leave your child alone with a new boyfriend. Be careful until you know what kind of person he is. And don't assume that he is the typical nice guy. Like I said in my title, a lot of predators are good at being likable. They seem to be cool people at first, but that is their way of lowering your guard as the caregiver. See, it is to their best interest for you to like them, because if you don't like them, then they will not have access to what they really want, and that is their prey inside your home. So, of course, they're going to be likable. Most child predators are people that we actually respect and like at first. Now, the article goes on to say, believe in yourself. Don't feel as if you have to settle for less than what you deserve just because you are a single mother. There are plenty of nice guys out there that would be lucky to have you and your children in their lives. Just make sure he is worthy. And that's the key word. He has to be worthy. Meaning that he's not the type of guy that's around here eyeballing, inappropriately, children, teenagers, like I said on that date that I was on. Let me make sure my microphone is on. That date that I was on, the guy was in the bowling alley, and every time I looked around, he was looking at those teenage girls inappropriately. Got rid of his ass immediately. That was a red flag. A lot of times, ladies, you can dodge the bullet just by being observant. And yes, he was charming. He was handsome. He didn't have a problem spending money. He didn't have a problem giving me money. But you cannot be so thirsty for a man. Or some of you all are thirsty for money. Some of you are sugar babies. And that's another thing that will put your child at risk. If you are thirsty for money, the type of, I don't want to call nobody out there, the type of females that'll do anything for money. Don't let the green take you off the path of vetting people from coming into your lives. A lot of predators will come into your life and they'll look to see what your vices are. Do you like to smoke cigarettes? Do you like to drink? See, the predator will not just cater to the children and bring the children gifts, but they'll also see what your vices are and they'll start bringing you gifts. Ooh, mama's an alcoholic. All I got to do is get this heifer good and drunk. And she's down for the count, and the children, well, they'll be unprotected. So, ladies, if you are an alcoholic, if you are a drug addict, and I'm not saying this to shame anybody, and you have children, you put your children at risk because of your vices. Because that person is going to look to see if you like to smoke weed. And if your vice is the fact that you just don't like being lonely, that person is going to be the most best companion to you, because loneliness is a drug too. You don't like being lonely, they're gonna say, oh, I'll talk to you on the phone, and they'll talk to you on the phone for hours upon hours, gaining your trust. What man has time to be on the phone with you hours upon hours? No productive man does. So you got to look at some of these things as being red flags when you're a single mother. And it's not that you don't deserve anyone being nice to you, because you do. But at the same time, you have to look at things in, is this person laying it on thick? See, I look for men to do things in moderation. If they lay things on too thick, I'm going to think they have an agenda. So yeah, spending hours upon hours on the phone, and watch the guy that pops up all the time. See, to me, within the first year of you dating a man and you have children, he should not know your address within that first year. You should always be meeting up somewhere. And this is a safety precaution for you and your children. Now, when he does have your address and you do, give him a little bit of trust, watch out for the pop-ups. Because what's happening is he's trying to get to know your schedule. So if your boyfriend is popping up at your house while he knows you're at work, he's popping up for a reason. And you should empower your children. You should tell your children, nobody, not even this nigga I'm dating, should be allowed inside my home while I'm not here. And if your child tells you that this person popped up while they knew you were at work, I don't care if they were so-called trying to discuss a surprise party for your birthday. Because, likable perverts will do stuff like that. Oh, I just wanted to plan something special and I wanted to get the children involved. Nah, nigga. You popped up at my house while you knew I was at work, while my teenage daughter was there by herself. So now, thanks but no thanks. Appreciate the birthday wishes and everything. Now you can get the fuck on. And that's how strict you got to be about your dating. But see, ladies, a lot of your cutoff game is weak when it comes to these men, because you want companionship so badly. Your child's safety is most important, and you are the first line of defense. And if these predators can't get access, then they're not going to be able to make your child a target. Like I said, they're looking for access. So they're going to butter you up in many different ways. You like to smoke weed, they're going to buy you the weed. You like to drink, they're going to buy you the booze. You like to do drugs, they're going to buy you the drugs. Because not only will predators introduce drugs to children to make them, to inhibit their, They're thinking, but they'll also introduce drugs and different things to the caregivers as well. And while you're all knocked out and you're out the game, they got access to the kids and they're going to do the same thing to the kids. And that's how you see a lot of these kids running around here hooked on some drugs because some predator done come into the environment and introduced them to them. So always go with your gut. Last but not least, many women are always in search of finding true love. I have come to realize that no matter what any man would be able to offer me, the truest meaning of the term true love could only be described as my love for my kids and their love for me. Children cannot control the decisions that are made in their homes. It is the parents' responsibility to protect and love them. It seems that the only time sexual offenses against minors get any public attention is when the perpetrator is a stranger to the victim. Please be aware that in most cases, the victim knows their assailant. Child molesters are usually family members, neighbors, or friends of the family. I have to check from time to time to see if my mic is on. As a parent or guardian, it is best to be aware of all your children's surroundings and be cautious of who you even allow in your home. It has even become a risk to allow your child to have a sleepover at a friend's house these days. It is hard to know what type of environment you are sending your child into. And that's the other thing. You can't be too protective of your children. My rule of thumb for, allowing my children to even go play at another child's house is I will have had to be visited that home. Okay. If I have not been inside the home, why would I let my children go inside that home? I don't think you guys heard me. If you, the parent, have not been inside that home, why would you send your children inside that home? So you also have to vet your friends and your neighbors, family members. Go inside the homes of these people. Just like I'd like to come in and, meet you or, whatever, before I let my daughter, come over and, don't be afraid to say that. And if the person is acting funny about you going to their house or coming inside their home, that means they have something to hide. There's something in there they don't want you to see or observe. And I'm not even talking about a sleepover. I'm just talking about going to visit. No, I'm not going to let Mom, can I go over to Tay Tay house? Who is Tay Tay? Oh, that's my friend. Well, who's Tay Tay mama? Where they live? They live over there. Okay, I'm going to walk over there with my child. Is Tay Tay parents home? Yeah. Hi, Tay Tay parents. My name is Mrs. Jones. I live down the street. This is Samantha. She wanted to come over, play. I just wanted to come over and meet you, say hello. Is it okay if I come in and chat with you for a second? Don't be afraid to do that. And if a parent wants to come inside your home, allow them the same. And you sit down, you chat with each other, get to know each other. Look around the environment. Does the environment look safe for your children to be going over to visit that person? Because a lot of times predators will use other children to lure other children in the neighborhood. Go over often. As a matter of fact, when my daughters used to go over to their friend's house, I would do pop-ups at the friend's house to see if there are any parents or adults around supervising anything. I just do pop-up. Hey, Brenda, what's going on? Yeah, I just thought I'd come over to visit. How the kids doing? Where they at? Oh, they down in the basement. Oh, let me go down there and holler at them real quick. You know, do stuff like that. And I guarantee you, if that person is up to something, they're not even going to want to have your kid back at their house because you're too nosy. You're too involved. You'll pop up at any time. You're unpredictable. You're always there. They hate that. A lot of times, when my kids will be going, even at school, at soccer practice and volleyball practice, I would go and pop in on the practice. My son was in karate school and I felt a kind of way about leaving him there. I sat in on a few of the teachings until I was comfortable leaving him there. And then even then I would pop up, in the middle of a lesson to see what's going on. That's the type of parent I was. My pop-up game was strong. I wouldn't just pop up at the end of the session when it was over, because they expect parents to be, come to get their kids, at a certain time when it's over. No, I'm going to pop up in the middle. I might leave and I might return 15 minutes later to see what's going on. Or I might come back 2-3 times. You never know when Miss Jones is going to pop up. So you got to be that way with your kids. So as we know, I'm going back to the article, people do not like to talk about sexual abuse, especially if it happens in their own home. The scary part of this is children and teens are starting to sexually abuse other children and teens, which goes on and on, a continuous cycle of abuse. Now, I think that this is the point that Sister George was trying to make. But like I said, words matter. Words matter. So the other day at Sweet Life of Atari, Sister George did acknowledge that she might have been a little bit, how can I say, distasteful in how she described the situation. So this is a better way of saying it, but I get what she's saying. So even the article is saying that the scary part is that children and teens are starting to sexually abuse other children and teens, which goes on and on, a continuous cycle of abuse. These young offenders are looked at strictly as perpetrators when they have been victims themselves. Talk to your children. Talk to your children. If they get upset because they can't spend the night at a friend's house, you're only doing what's best for them. Many child molesters take the time to groom their victims before actually committing the crime. It is in these situations where single mothers get charmed by the sexual predators. The child molester will not take action right away. They will spend time trying to gain their victim's trust before they commit the crime. Many women have said, well, my boyfriend and I have been together 1 year. 1 year. And this is the first time my child has ever said anything about it. Chances are the sexual predator used that first year to gain the woman's trust as well as the child's trust. Once the child molester feels they are in the comfort zone is when they commit their horrible crime. Although it is hard to identify a child molester, there are some traits that help identify them. So we're going to go over them in the article. Let me go back to see whether or not my mic's working. My mic is still on. It's still on. All right. So let's go through this. Number one, molesters tend to seek out playgrounds or other places that kids frequent. So if you like to take your kid to the playground It should go without saying that you need to be very observant of the other adults in the area. And you should also be very observant about the area itself. Is it safe? Just because it's a playground does not mean it's a safe playground. You might want to choose a different location. Number 2, molesters entice kids with games, toys, and money. And I covered that early in the video. Number 3, molesters supply alcohol, drugs, and pornography to their victims to lower their inhibitions. And that goes for the caregiver as well as the victim. If you are a person, because we have a lot of vices in our community. If you are a person that likes to smoke weed, the molester will lower your inhibition by bringing you weed. If you are a person that likes to drink alcohol, the perpetrator will bring you alcohol. If you are a person that likes pornography, guess what? They're going to load you up with pornography because you are, very, sexual your damn self. And they're going to also do this with the children. Whatever they do to you, they're going to also do to the children. So be mindful of how this person moves with you, and all the same things that he do to you, he's going to do to them. Be mindful. So if he's constantly, enticing you with things that he know you like, he's going to do this with the kids too. He's going to find out what they like, and he's going to entice them too. Or she, because some predators are women, but the vast majority are men. Molesters prey not only on the child's teenager's desire to excel in sports, they also prey on the child's teenager's parents' desire. Molesters entertain kids, and they like to take them on outings, like taking LaQuisha to the mall to buy her summer clothes. Molesters tend to operate or work at businesses that employ teens, that puts themselves in contact with children. Molesters seek out single mothers intending to victimize their innocent children. So the name of the game, like I said in the beginning of the video, is access. They want access. Black Dahlia says they'll use animals to use children too. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Please remember that we need to be aware of not only our own surroundings, but the surroundings of our children. A child's life can be shattered in the blink of an eye due to sexual abuse. The damages caused by such criminal acts are suffered throughout an entire lifetime. Now, I heard in one of Rudimp's video where he's saying, you bitches, you were molested when you were 4 and now you're 40. You're not still going through that trauma. We don't want to hear that shit. Shut up. This is the words of Rudimp Rue. But according to the article, the damages caused by sexual abuse are suffered throughout an entire lifetime. Please stop listening to everybody online. I am not a sexual abuse expert, and neither is Rudimp. I am reading an article written by experts. So this is not coming from me. This is coming from an expert who wrote the article. So I'm trying to be responsible about what I'm putting out here. If you have any questions regarding this article or any topics regarding sexual abuse, domestic abuse, stalking, or general crimes, please call the Dove office at 218-935-5785. 5554 or the 24-hour crisis line, and that number is 1-877-830 and that's Dove spelled 3683. And that program provides direct services to victims and survivors of these crimes. Yes, Mela. The way that Rude was approaching the topic was hostile, and it pretty much alienates people. And so when you're hostile and you're using alienating language, you're not going to reach your audience or get the desired result. But I don't think his result was in particular to heal or teach a community. I think that it was basically to shun and shame single mothers once again. And like I said, you got a lot of people on here talking about this subject, and they have other ulterior motives. If the ulterior motive seems to be to shame and to make people feel inadequate, and the language is abusive, do not take any type of advice from that person, because that person is an abuser themselves. Now, with that, I do want to look at a different article, because there are different articles about the subject. And I don't think that we can talk about the grooming of children enough. But it says here in an article written by the Coalition of Children, they said grooming steps include identifying and targeting the victim. Any child or teen may be a potential victim. And that's what Miss Olivia said yesterday on Sweet Life of Atari stream. Once again, she has expertise in the field, so I respect her, and I stopped and I listened to her. Some predators may be attracted to children and youth with certain characteristics, or may target youth with certain coexisting factors, such as a vulnerable parent, to facilitate the crime. So they may be attracted to youth with certain characteristics. Some predators may be attracted to younger victims, and some predators may be attracted to prepubescent children, children who are just shy of entering adulthood. Some predators may be attracted to victims who look a certain way or dress a certain way. Some predators look for youth with coexisting factors, like a child who is overweight and may have low self-esteem. They sense that they have low self-esteem. Or a child that seems to be neglected. And so that child may be looking for someone to show them love and attention. Or a child that doesn't seem to have anyone there protecting them at all times. That child seems to have free reign to do whatever they want to do, because there are no grown-ups that seem to be around paying that child any attention or giving that child any protection. So they look for these pre-existing conditions, or maybe that child is being raised by an older caregiver. And so that old person needs a lot of help. So they're going to step in and be helpful. Like I said, a lot of these people are very likable people. Very likable. There are some content creators online that I consider to be very likable content creators. And some of these men, they're charming, but their talking points have not gone unnoticed from these ears. See, like I said, I'm a very cautious individual. I'm very protective of my, how can I say, of my energy. I'm protective even of my own energy. So I tend to listen very closely to what people say, and I also listen to what they're not saying. And some of these men on here that are talking about this subject, they're kind of suspect. I'll just put it that way. They're suspect. Because if one day I go to your platform and I hear you saying that girls who are 14, 15, 16, and 17, oh, they know full well what they're doing. Some of them actually seduce older men. When I hear that language and that verbiage, that's the language and verbiage of a predator. And so now I'm just going to put you on notice, person that said this. In my mind, you are a predator. And I will never look at you the same again. And you are very likable. Yes, you are. But most predators are charming. A lot of predators take pride in being pillars of the community. They take pride in being able to do their dirt right under the noses of other adults. And they try to create a predatory, they try to create an environment where their predatory behavior is normalized. So they'll do things like trying to normalize the predatory behavior by saying things like 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds know what they're doing. And then we as women will think back to when we were that age, and some of us will say, well, I met my husband and I was, attracted to him and I was 14. Just the other day in my other stream, I used the example of when Luke and Laura were, I don't know if you guys used to watch that old soap opera General Hospital, but there was a couple on there named Luke and Laura that eventually ended up getting married, but their history was not a very good history at first. When Luke and Laura first met, they were friends, and Luke was very, very obsessed with Laura. Laura was in a whole relationship with another person, and she was not even thinking about Luke. So there was a disco dance, and after the disco dance, everyone had left, and Luke, he was mulling. I'm so glad I caught my mic that time. He knew that Laura would stay behind in the dance. Okay, hold on. I thought I had caught my mic that time. Is the audio back on? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Okay, great. Let me go on. So Luke stayed behind and he was feeling bad and he knew Laura would come and comfort him. And so Laura was trying to be a friend to him and said, me and my boyfriend, we're here for you. We'll support you in anything that you want to do. And, we're your friends. And he grabbed Laura and he said, I played that in the last video. He said, I don't want to be your friend. And in that moment, he looked at her. And when she realized that he had that look of, an aggressive individual, he took advantage of Laura and raped her right there in that disco. He raped her. And Laura said no, and she tried to fight him. They were young. And so then after going through a very, very, very long period of Laura having to deal with the fact that she was raped, and then she healed from it, later on down the road, they ended up meeting again, falling in love, getting married, and having kids. And that happens. But just because Laura later down the road fell in love with Luke and she gave consent at a later date does not mean that the event that happened to Laura was no less wrong. It does not negate the fact that she was victimized. So just because you meet your predator, when you were 14, like the Hugabrook girl, she said, I married, she called him her predator. She said, he's my predator. She was proud in saying that. But just because the Hugabrook girl met her predator when she was 13, 14, when he was grooming her, and she later married him when she aged out of being, too young to consent, does not mean that she was any less a victim. The victimization did still happen. Because I think this guy is like 20, 30 years older than her. Full grown man that took advantage of a child. So just because she aged out, does that mean that the victimization was right? Absolutely not. The victimization still happened. And that's where the Black community needs to make that distinct clarification and thought process. Because a lot of Black women will look at what Rude says. I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to say his name. But a lot of Black women will look at what he says. Oh, these 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds know what they're doing. Some of them seduce these older guys. That's dangerous language. That's him trying to normalize a predatory environment. Blue Devil Geese said he was in his 60s. Yeah, when they got married, he was in his 60s. That's predatory language aimed at normalizing a predatory environment. So now if predators can make the environment around them unsafe for their victims, then that means that there are no adults on alert. So all the women that came into my chat room the other day and all the women in his chat room saying, yeah, I met my man, my husband when I was 14, ain't nothing wrong with that. You all are contributing to the predatory environment. And I'm saying specific women, not all women, just the ones that say this. Because what ends up happening is if a teenage girl is around you and you have this mindset, if you're raising a teenage girl and you have that mindset, then your boyfriend can go and touch your teenage child. And you're going to think that because you were 14 and you met a husband through predatory activity, that your teenager is grown and know what they're doing without you even realizing that you were a victim. The mere fact that Black people in the Black community cannot say, I was a victim at that age. I respect China White because when China White came onto my stream the other day, she said that she got married to her predator. She was young, but she had the conscious mind to say that he was a predator because he was dealing with her while she was underage. We have to normalize making that distinction so that we can break the cycle of these unsafe, predatory environments for our children. And I feel that this is a better way of explaining it than saying, you bitches, let these men rape your kids, you whores, you old hoes. Nobody's going to listen to me if I say it like that. So instead, I want you to understand that the things that happened to you when you were a teenager were inappropriate, and that you have to recognize today that it was inappropriate and that it should not have been. That person should have actually been dating people their own age. And then when you came of age, that would have been the appropriate time for them to show interest, not before. And when we can set these boundaries within our communities, the children will be safe. Because it is the mindset of the adults in the community that creates the safe environment. If the mindset of the adults in the community is along the lines of, it's okay because I met my husband when I was 14 and he was 30 or he was 20, 25. That mindset is dangerous, and that is what is making the children vulnerable in the community. So we have to get rid of this mindset that teenagers are like adults and that they are capable of making adult decisions. They're not. The adult is capable of making the adult decision, not the child, not the teenager. Teenagers are not adults. Say it with me. Teenagers are not adults and they cannot make adult decisions. They need you there to help guide them into making better choices. And even though there are some teenagers that are attracted to older people, I was attracted. I had a art teacher when I was younger. I was like in middle school, like 8th grade. I was very attracted to my art teacher. His name was Mr. Jefferson. And I was about 13, 14 at the time. And Mr. Jefferson knew I had a crush on him. And what he did was the commendable thing. He sat me down and he said, "You're a very lovely girl." He said, and you're going to, one day when you're old enough, some lucky man is going to find you and you're gonna, get with somebody when the time is right. He said, right now you're young, you ought to be focusing on being a kid and having fun and enjoying life. And he told me, he said, you have fun with people your own age. He said, I am an adult. And so right there, he separated himself from me. He said, I am an adult. So he made a distinction that I'm still a kid. No matter what I was feeling or no matter what I thought I knew, he made a distinction. When he said that he was an adult, he put me back in a child's place. You see how that works? And he was a man, very attractive guy. So I know men are capable of doing this because that's what Mr. Jefferson did. Shout out to Mr. Jefferson. He's a great teacher and a great role model. And he is also an example of how you should handle a child that might be attracted to you. Now, I've worked with children before too. I've had to volunteer and do things at my kids' high school, and I've had underage boys, because back during the time when my daughter was in high school, I still looked like I was in high school. I still looked young. So a lot of times the teenage boys would think that it would be okay to play with me. And because of that interaction that I had with Mr. Jefferson, I knew exactly how to put them back in a child's place. I would quickly establish, my name is Mrs. Jones. You will respect me. I'm an adult. And when you do that, you put them back in a child's place. Remind them. You don't have to say you're a kid. Just remind them of who you are. I'm an adult. I'm not the one that you're going to play with like this. Alice in Wonderland, that is a good film. Allison says, watch the film American Beauty. Jim Jules says a lot of guys will let guys say this because they see these minor girls on as their competition. These kids usually need guidance, not an enemy. Yeah, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That's the reason why I said we need to change the thought process. See, as the adults, children are not your competition. Children need to be protected, and they rely on the adults in the community, whether they know it or not, to provide that level of defense. So instead of you looking at the child as competition, look at the child as someone who needs to be protected. That's what you have to do. And if you're dating a guy, because this happened to me, I dated a guy. We were walking back over to his place, and I saw what looked to be like a teenage girl coming out from around the corner to confront him about being with me. And mind you, we're in our 30s. And I looked at him and I was so put off. And now this little girl, like she's like 16, 17. He like 35. I'm like 32. I'm looking at him like, Are you? The first thing that came out of my out of my mouth, I looked at him. I said, "Are you messing with this girl?" And he lied and tried to tell me that she was 22 because she looked a little older. But by the way the girl was talking and by the way the girl was acting, I knew this wasn't no grown woman. You know, other grown women know other grown women. I knew this was not no grown woman. You're not going to sit here and tell me this kid is 22. Even though I know that there are some people out here that have the ability to look younger. I looked at the girl and I asked her, I said, "How old are you?" And she just looked. And I said, the mere fact that she didn't say anything was validation enough for me. That was validation enough for me. Now, I didn't know the girl, but this child thought that she was grown. And she was willing to take me down for this guy. That's how grown she thought she was. I didn't leave her alone with him. I cursed him flat out. And I told him, I said, and if you go in there with that girl, I said, I'm going to call the police on you. And she was angry. Oh, she was mad. And that's the other thing. A lot of times when you're protecting the victim, these young girls are not going to be very appreciative. They're not going to be very appreciative of you protecting them either. But as the adult in the situation that isn't a predator, it's my duty. Yes, Blue Devil Gee, young ladies do lie on the internet. That's the reason why, as the older person, as the adult male, you need to get validation that you are in fact dealing with an adult. And like I said, if I can spot a kid, then some of you Negroes out here can spot children. It's just that some of you don't want to put that work in, and some of you don't want to know. The easy access to pussy is all you guys care about. So I don't care about the girl lying, because like I said, I asked that child how old she was, and she wouldn't even tell me. But the mere fact that you won't say anything, if they won't tell you their age, if they're playing around, just assume it's a kid and keep it moving. But see, I know a lot of you not going to be able to turn that down. Because let me also talk about the desperate man. Some of you guys are so desperate to get your penis wet that you don't want to know. And it is convenient for you to say, she lied or she looked older. It's convenient. But in this dating climate that we're in, there are no excuses. And that's going to be my mantra for the rest of this year. No excuses. The same way we as women have to vet you guys, you men have an obligation to vet. So the same way we got to get your name, your first and last name. We got to know where you work. We got to know where you live. We got to know how old you are. You're supposed to do the same thing with us. And if this girl can't tell you where she work, she can't tell you nothing about herself that's an indicator that she is in fact an adult, and the conversation gives you every indication leaning towards she's a dependent in somebody's home, a child, that's you purposely wanting to be oblivious, because your main goal wasn't to get to know her. Your main goal was to get some pussy. So if you get clank, clank, the handcuffs, I didn't know. Not knowing does not make you unsusceptible to the law. You not knowing does not absolve you from being punished by the law. I'm Allison in Wonderland says she didn't realize dealing with his old ass had her lying on her age. Telltale sign you're dealing with a predator. Predators put you in the position to lie. Exactly. I ended up staying behind and talking to that girl for a long time. And the reason why I stayed behind and talked to this girl, because I knew she would go back into that building. And I don't know how I was able to do it, but I was able to get her to take me to her house. And I saw her mother. And when I went to that house, y'all, and when I tell you, it was problematic. I saw lots of young kids running around. So she came from an environment where her mother was just kind of loose and liberal in that environment. And I spoke with her mother. Her mother looked like she was on drugs. So, it was a lot of problems with that girl's environment. And I noticed that right off the bat. And I knew that even with talking to that girl's mother, I talked to that girl's mother and told her, who I was, how I even met her daughter. And the lack of interest in what I was saying was astounding. And her daughter sat there and was cursing me out right in front of her mom after I even gave her a ride home. So that's how bad that situation was. But I can't, sit up there and take anything out on this child because she's a kid. She thinks she knows, but she knows that she's grown. She thinks she's grown. And she don't have no parents in her environment to protect her. No parents. I never saw that guy again. Never. I felt very bad for that girl and the other children in that household. But he was definitely somebody that was not going to make it home to be with my children. Absolutely not. So I had to eliminate a lot of people. A lot of people that I dated got eliminated because I was observant and I wasn't afraid to speak up. And I knew that me and my children were the prize. And that's how you got to start viewing it. See, online, I hate this current environment of shaming single mothers for being single and having children. I hate this environment of lowering the self-esteem of our women, because when you do that, when our women are running around here with low self-esteem, that makes the children vulnerable, because now these women are desperate to become what we would consider respectable women. And I want you to know, you can be a respectable woman and be a single woman. Being married does not make you a respectable woman. But being a good pillar of the community, being a good mother, being a good person in general, that is what makes you respectable. Not a man, not a ring, not a relationship. You are respectable by your actions. And we got to start promoting that more in our community. Because when we shame these women like this, we create a issue with their self-esteem. And we don't need our women to be raising our children in that low mindset of not feeling good about themselves because they're fertile and they gave birth. We got to stop doing that. We're putting our kids at risk because we got a lot of people with low self-esteem out here raising these kids, and they got their guard down. I'm Allison in Wonderland makes a good point. She says, that's the whole point, Faith. They want women feeling low and desperate. And that's exactly why I'm trying to counter that. So, you see what I have done here today, people? I laid out all the reasons why we got to start changing our thought process and the way we deal with each other. Because when we change our thought process, we change the environment in which we raise our children, and we create a better class of women in the process. I will not call our women bitches and hoes and heifers and old sluts and all of that, because that's abusive language and it does not build up the self-esteem of the women who are raising these children. But in letting you know that you are an important member of the community because you are the caregiver of our children, and by letting you know how important your role is and letting you know how serious you need to take your role as a caregiver and parent, and by letting you know that you need to be proud of your role as caregiver and parent. Don't let anybody try to shame you about your role as a child's caregiver and parent. And your children are a precious resource that you need to protect. And you are valuable with or without a man. You are also respectable. Having a child does not make you a unrespectable woman. You are respectable because you carry yourself in such a way that you care about yourself and you care about your children. That is what makes you respectable. Not a man, not a ring. Now, I've been on here a good hour and a half. I'm not going to open up the panel today. I just wanted to lay that information down. I will be back to do more conversation on this, but this is just the first shoe that I wanted to drop. Please like the video, share the video to your community tabs, make it go viral. But we're going to talk about prevention, and the first step of prevention is changing the mindset of the adults in the environment. Once we change the mindset of the adults in the environment will become safe for children. It will be much, much, much more safer. And with that, ladies, I love you. I adore all of you. Please, like I said, make sure you share this video, like the video. And with that, I want to say, I love you. I love you all. Peace. Peace, everybody. I'm out of here. Bye.